First of all, hello everyone, and hi Matt. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Thank you to yourself and to everybody on the team for having me here today. And it's my privilege to be speaking to you guys about turning zero to one. And as Matt said in his very warm introduction, I'm a product person. So I've done product design at university, so learning and understanding how to turn ideas in your mind essentially and pitch them and bring them out into the real world, both digital and also physical ideas as well. So working at Blenheim Chalcott, we create digital products in the healthcare area as well as a fintech and education area. But away from work, away from my 9 to 5, my 5 to 9 is looking after and running Modernize, which is a homeware brand where we optimize, personalize, and customize your desk space through innovative solutions. And the thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, as the title says, is turning zero to one, how we can take ideas from our mind and bring them into the real world, making sure that we turn vision essentially into fruition. And the first thing to understand is that all your ideas start in your mind. Your mind is a powerful, powerful, powerful tool. You may get direct inspiration from your mind to create an idea from all different types of sources. So it could be a problem that you face. Maybe there's an issue that you saw on your way into work yesterday, or maybe your parents or your siblings or your children were complaining about something. It could be from direct inspiration that you receive. Sometimes just, looking out at a painting or, feeling something, a type of emotion might give you that inspiration that you require, which starts to feed into the idea that you have. And on top of that, it could be a need that you can meet. You have skills, you have talents, you have gifts that are all inside of you, but the world does need to see them because there's plenty of value inside of those skills. And the point is this, is that your zero must grow. Your zero can't stay at zero. Your zero can't be stagnant. But that idea that you have, there'll be an itch at the back of your mind telling you that, hey, this thing that you have, somebody out there needs it. Somebody needs this idea. Someone needs this product or this business or this service to serve them. Because what this can apply to is a bunch of businesses. So it could be an app or a website or a software that you want to build. That could be an idea that you have. It can also be a physical product that you want to create as well. Maybe perhaps it's a service that you want to deliver or a social enterprise that you want to begin. All of these things are all different types of ideas, but they also require different ways of launching those ideas, again, from your mind into the real world. And later in this presentation, we'll go through each 4 of those different types of ideas. And perhaps maybe if we have time for questions, we can definitely also go through any specific ideas or products that you guys may have. Now, the key thing is your idea has value. And there's at least one person in this world that will definitely benefit from that idea that you have. But the key thing is that your hesitation to actually grow that zero is actually starving someone of that value that you need. So imagine if the first mobile phone, or let's say the first iPhone, wasn't created, the amount of value that, billions of people across the world face and receive from having a mobile phone, be it an iPhone or an Android, is immense. Or perhaps you could look at something as simple as the wheel or cars or transportation. Not if someone didn't have that desire to think of a better way of taking a person from A to B. If you look around you at your desk or on the tube or on the train or wherever you're tuned in from, just pick a product and think about how much value you're receiving from it or somebody else is receiving from it. And now imagine if it wasn't there. The key thing is that your idea has value, it's in your mind, and you need to bring it out there because hesitation is what's going to cause someone to be starved of the value that you have for the world. So the question then comes is, how do you turn your zero into one? How do you actually grow your zero? And the answer to that is by prototyping it into existence, because we are all creators. And I've underlined that for a purpose, because you may think of creativity and instantly say that, I don't know how to sketch, I don't know how to draw. And whilst creativity is sketching and drawing, it's also a bunch of other different things as well. It could be writing, It could be playing football. I got a lovely picture of Neymar there doing a rainbow flick. You could also have cooking there or molding, writing, looking at complex maths equations and finding a solution, singing. There's a bunch of different ways where you can express your creativity. And I've got my definition here, which is it's the unique expression of ideas to solve problems and boost self-fulfillment as well. So if I go to the football example, you could have the challenge of trying to get past a player. So you could just dribble around them or knock the ball past them. In a way, that is an expression of creativity. But another way you can approach that problem is maybe you want to flick it over the player's head, or maybe you want to dribble it through their legs as well. That's also a unique expression to solve a problem and also boosting that sense of fulfillment after you've completed the task. Again, it could also be writing or journaling, writing a book, creating a story, or writing a blog about an experience that you had maybe last year, or about a fictional story that you're trying to create to inspire people as well. That also is itself a unique expression of a problem, which also boosts fulfillment at the same time. And the last one here is that you may see a bunch of shapes towards the left here. And that's more so trying to explain the concept of workflows or the concept of having a complex structure in your work organization, but then trying to come up with a unique way of expressing how we can take an idea or take a problem to a solution standpoint as well. So I think it's just key to remember that we are all creatives and we all have unique ways of expression and expressing our ideas. One example I could do is if everybody in this room was to almost like close their eyes and think of a chair, there'll be as many of us in this room, there'll be as many unique chairs as well. So you may have a golden chair, your chair might have maybe green cushions. Some of you might have had a rocking chair or maybe an office style type of chair. Maybe some of you maybe went further in thinking of the background. Maybe this chair is in the living room, maybe the chair is in the park or in your office space. The point being is that we all have unique ways of expressing problems. And at the same time, it will also boost our fulfillment. And one of the things I also want to edge on here is that I believe that our creativity is a characteristic that is shared with us by God. And if we look at the book of Genesis 1:26, part 8, it says, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness." And of course, in the creation story of Genesis 1, we see how God created everything that we, get to enjoy from this world, from the birds of the sky to the fruits and trees on the land, and, the separation between the seas and the skies as well. These were ideas, these were direct wisdom that God spoke into the world and created into existence. And that same ability to have an idea and bring it into the world is something that is imprinted on each and every single one of us here today. Because as the word of God says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness. And to follow that as well, that fulfillment that you have after you've just made something, you've had an idea and you've brought it into the world is so fulfilling. I think I always like to go back to when I was at university and I signed up to HelloFresh, where you receive a meal and you also receive the instructions on how to create that meal. And you take that meal, you're on the hob or you're in the oven, you're chopping up vegetables, and then you put something together. And at the end, you just have that feeling of fulfillment because you had these different ingredients, these different materials, and you formed it and you've created something that is just so unique to you. I also have another example here where I've got this advent calendar, which was quite unique. And you had different bits of Lego or different Lego or building blocks, where again, that represents your materials, but it takes your ideas, it takes your into thinking, almost like willpower to essentially put it together and create something. And lo and behold, it was just Christmas, but we have a Christmas tree right here. And again, from Genesis 1:31 says, God saw all that he made and it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning on the sixth day. So there's that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling of fulfillment after you've created that idea that was once in your mind, but is now out there in the world. So we're going to look at 4 different types of ideas that you may have. You may have a digital idea, a digital product. How do you prototype that? Well, there's plenty of tools that are available online. So you're looking at things like Figma, Balsamiq, Photoshop, and simply also pen and paper as well. So when you look at something like Balsamiq and Figma, this is great so that you can use unique elements, maybe a button or maybe a email sign-up form, and you can drag and drop these into a page and then begin to form an idea, begin to form some sort of, idea or expression of your digital solution, whether that might be an app or a website or a service or a subscription or something else. But let's say you don't even have a laptop or you can't access a laptop at this point in time. The easiest way to do it is just pen and paper. Just draw a box, and on that box, decide to design where the different buttons go, where the different images go. And once you've got a settled idea of what this solution looks like, then you can take it to maybe a software engineer or a UX or UI designer who could then make it a bit more professional and then help you take this idea from 0 to 1. Maybe you don't have a physical, or sorry, a digital idea. You might have a physical one as well. So this is about creating a low fidelity prototype by presenting and representing your idea with everyday materials. So it could be cardboard and paper, could be plasticine, clay, or blue tack. Or if you want to go a bit more sophisticated, it could be 3D printing. And I've got an idea here from a product that I launched last year called Tower, which is a desk organizer, which will reduce your desk clutter and boost your productivity. And you can see in the image on the left, it was literally just using cardboard and styrofoam and a bit of glue just to stick some things together and then, represent a basic concept of essentially what I'm trying to bring into the world. And then after a process of iteration, after a process of prototyping, also getting feedback is what I was able to produce, which is this product on the right, which is Tower, which is made out of oak and also got 3D printed elements around it as well. Now, should never really have the expectation that as soon as you create an idea, it's going to be perfect and as you imagined, because there's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be things that you need to iterate on and improve on that will make you go from that process of prototype to essentially the real life product that people can benefit from every single day. Maybe you don't have a physical or a digital product. You might have a service. And in this case, it's about just getting in touch with friends and family or communities that you're part of to essentially get your hands in there and help people, with a certain problem that they have, or maybe help them by offering a service with a discount to gauge their feedback, whether it be by a hair business, a barbering business, a nail business. If it involves yourself and your physical body putting in some work, then the important thing is to actually get up there and put those hands into action and begin to work your skill and your talent into fruition as well. And the last concept I have here is about social enterprise. Maybe you have a charity or a cause or a need that needs to be met. You could do this by creating a campaign on something like GoFundMe or Just Giving. But the important thing here is about seeing the issue firsthand. If it's nurses that you want to serve, then you need to go out there and find and speak to nurses. If it's a homeless that you want to serve, you need to go out there and speak to homeless or people who are suffering from homelessness. Maybe it's a food bank that you want to work in. Again, you need to go to food banks and volunteer and put your services out there. But when it comes to a social enterprise or a charity, it's again similar to a service, but about speaking to those who suffer from the issue and then allowing those ideas to then flow out from the mind into the real world by the works of your hands. Now, another thing we also need to talk about is what I like to call the 4 Fs, because you're on a journey of creating an idea, bringing something out from your mind into the world. And the 4 Fs are your fans, your friends, your family, and also your foes, because you can categorize pretty much everybody in your life along this diagram in some way, because your idea maybe is well received by some people, but at the same time, it may not be well received by others as well. And you need to be prepared for all 4 of these different types of people. So we'll start off with our fans. Now, your fans are your biggest supporters of your idea. These are the ones where as soon as you give it to them, they love it, they consume it, they may subscribe or sign up or purchase your product. These are your guys who are going to support your idea and support everything that you put out there. And the Bible scripture I have here is in Judges 6:35, where we're talking about Gideon here, where the Bible talks about Gideon and how he was called by God to be a judge of Israel and to save Israel from the oppressors. It says here, he sent messages throughout Manasseh, calling them to arms and also into Asher and Zebulun and Naphtali, so that they too went up to meet him. So as he made this call out to these people came and supported him as well. In the same way, these are what your fans are going to do. As you make a call, as you announce a product that you're about to release, they're going to come behind you and support you as well. Now, moving towards the middle of this diamond, we have our friends and we also have our family. And the reality is this is your hype team that want to see your success, but also at the same time, unfortunately, they can also want to see your demise. Now, the reason why I put this in there is because they will give you the honest and the brutal feedback about your product, about your service. If they really, really love it, they will tell you. If they really, really don't, they will also tell you as well. Because we also see this in the Bible where we have Joseph and his brothers who actually sold him into slavery, where it says it, here comes that dreamer, they said to each other. And then also at the same time, we also have our biggest supporters as well, coming again from these circles in terms of our friends and our family. In Ruth 1:16, where Ruth replied to Naomi saying, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where I go, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay, and your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. So in a sense, we can understand that essentially your friends and your family could be your biggest advocates for your idea, but at the same time, they will give you that honest and brutal feedback. And sometimes that feedback is necessary for you to take your idea from 0 to 1, not 0 to 0.5, but 0 to 1 and launch it into the world. And then the last point is the foes, the ones that will essentially be jealous of you, envious of you, may give you, some hate or might even try and, depress you and essentially suppress your idea into its nothingness. And the point is whatever idea that you have out there, people will naturally, or some people rather, will naturally feel like, I'm not too sure about this. I think it's not going to serve anyone. It's this, it's that. But essentially, these types of words you need to be able to overcome. One of my favorite stories in the Bible, one of my favorite chapter is about Nehemiah. And in Nehemiah 4:3, you have Tobiah the Ammonite who was at his side and said, what are they even building? Even a fox can climb up and it would break down their walls. And Nehemiah was someone who essentially saw the destruction of the city walls and it was inspired and there was a sense of, need. There was a need that he had to fulfill for the people to rebuild these walls, to rebuild the city and make it stronger. Now, he also had his group, he had his fans who essentially came to help him and reconstruct this wall. But at the same time, he also had his foes who were trying to suppress that work as well. So we need to understand that essentially, whatever idea that you have, you're always going to have these four quadrants in your process of building 0 to 1. You have your fans who will be your biggest supporters, who want to see you succeed and will get behind everything that you put out there. You have your friends and your family who will give you that honest and that brutal feedback at times. And then you'll have your foes, the ones who are trying to oppress you and suppress you. But at the same time, you must be able to overcome them. Now, getting your idea into the world, it can be a scary thing because, again, those foes sometimes can be quite loud. But at the same time, as many are their foes, there are also 10 times more fans out there who, again, need the value that you have. Some basic ideas and simple ways to get your idea out there is using your own social media handles. Some of us may have 100 followers, 200 followers, 300 followers, maybe on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, or even WhatsApp by just the sheer amount of contacts you have. You need to be able to tell your idea to the world. Think about a 30-second elevator pitch on how you would go up to a person that you completely do not know and explain that business, explain that idea, that product, that service that you have, and then essentially compress it into a way where you can announce it on social media. Another really powerful way is to build a mailing list as well. If you have a business, if you have a website, you also need to be capturing emails as well, because at the end of the day, delivering an inbox or delivering an email directly into a person's inbox is so powerful because email is something that will never go away. But with different social media apps, one day Instagram might close down and then you lose all your contacts and all your followers. Maybe one day TikTok will get banned and you won't be able to, make videos and push them out into the world. But one thing that will always stay is mailing lists and people's emails. So collecting them is very powerful. Another thing that you need to get used to is also in-person events as well. Your net worth is your network, and your network is most definitely your net worth as well. So how often are you going to different networking events, maybe having a stall where you can show people how your product works, or maybe going to public speaking engagements to speak about your service or speak about your charity to essentially get those donations and get those funds that you need to take your ideas out into the world. And the last thing I have here is also online advertising as well. Not being afraid of using, tools such as Google Ads or Meta Ads to take your idea and find your key target market audience so that they can benefit from it. So if you're creating a product that will serve software engineers, go and find software engineers and serve them. But maybe you can even niche down to say, I want to find software engineers who work from home. Maybe you can niche down even further to say you want to find software engineers who work from home who are struggling with their productivity. So there are many ways where you can actually niche down within an online advertising campaign on Google Ads or something like Meta Ads as well. So if we continue here, some of us have our ideas like this. We have our lovely house and we have a bubble over that house and we're comfortable. And perhaps this is you right now. You have an idea in your mind and you're comfortable with keeping it to yourself. Or maybe you've actually made a product or you've created something, but again, you're just keeping that idea to yourself and you're nice and wrapped up in your home. It's nice and warm. It's nice and comfortable and you are sheltered. But the issue is that you can't keep your ideas because the world needs it. The world needs that service, that product, that solution that you have because it's chaos out there. And the reality is as well is that there are people out there who, again, who need that idea, who need that product, who need that service to also help them as well. Now, feedback is key. Now, we were talking about earlier about, the 4 Fs and how your friends and your family are going to be very important to giving you that honest feedback. So you'll first obviously start off with an idea. That idea will sit in your mind until you then take it into the real world by creating it. So maybe you create that workflow, or maybe you put together that prototype with card, paper, and some pens. And after you've created that idea, then it's about taking it to people outside. And to do that, you would then also need to understand how to accept and also receive feedback, because that feedback is going to be key, especially in the early stages. That feedback will tell you if it's too big or if it's too small, if it doesn't really serve them in the way that they thought of, or if it needs to be improved in certain other elements as well. And then you need to take that feedback and iterate. So working on that feedback, how can you then improve? So if people told you it was too wide, how can you make it more narrow? If people told you your food was way too hot, how can you make sure when it's cooked, it's just a bit cooler so that it's more tastier when they eat it as well? So just a quick summary of how I did this for my own business, Modernize. I had 2 products which I launched. One was Tower and the other was Layer. So with Tower, this was a university project where we were prototyping and we spent a lot of time making our products out of card and also 3D printing them. And then we took those 3D prints and spoke to people to essentially get their feedback and then innovated and continued to iterate on the product where we now have Tower in front of us right here. And Layer is another product which was launched towards the back end of last year, which again is about a desk mat, which will add style and comfort to your desk space. And to get this product into the world, again, it was a process of making some sketches on paper, then creating that sketch into a CAD software. And then afterwards, it was then about speaking with a manufacturer based in China, where we received a round and various of prototypes where we said, this wasn't too nice, this wasn't too good. Can we improve on it? Can we iterate on it? And then continue to iterate until we have a product which we can launch into the real world. Now, you must remember, the key thing is to trust the process. And that image I have here is one of my favorite images, where you have somebody trying to push this big block today. But next week, as they begin to learn, as they begin to adapt, that block becomes rounder and it becomes easier to push. And next month, you can see the edges are really getting round and it's getting easy to turn over. And in a year, the guy here is able just to kick it. Now, the point being is that your turning zero can't just stop at the 0.5 because there's a way to go. At that next month stage, you could have just said this is good enough, but there's always room for improvement and there's always room to make things more effective and more efficient, which is how you get to that point in a year's time to push it. But from today to a year, 365 days, there is a lot of room for improvement and also a lot of time that you need to invest. So my essentially things I want to tell you all today is to make sure that you keep faith and you also keep on building. Now, it's been lovely speaking to you guys all today. Thank you so much for listening to this talk. Once more, thank you for the invite, Matt, and also to the Stronger Network team. If anybody wants to reach out to me, you're more than welcome to on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. I've got my social media handles there. And I'm also offering a special discount to everybody and anybody on this call, where you can get 10% off your order at modernize.com with the code SN 25. And just again, we create products which will optimize, personalize, and customize your desk space. So if you're looking to boost your productivity whilst you work from home or from the office, please do check out by scanning the QR code, and we'll be lovely having you visit us as well. But again, thank you so much for listening, guys. And if there's any questions, I would love to answer them.